Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to be talking about the DMRs in Battlefield Hardline. These are no longer universal weapons, they are exclusive to the professional class. So the professional now gets bolt-action sniper rifles and semi-automatic sniper rifles. And just like in BF4, these guns are very similar in many ways, although I will say that the cops seem to have some of the better DMRs at the moment. This is going to be remedied in the next patch. The four DMRs are the Sega 308, the PTR91, the SOCOM 16, and the SR25 ECC. They are all very similar. They have a very similar damage model. They have the exact same magazine capacity, the exact same rate of fire, and for the most part, fairly similar aiming down sight accuracy. Now these guns have been upgraded fairly significantly from BF4. They can shoot a lot faster now, making them much more effective and better spam fire weapons. They've also been given the ability to equip higher magnification optics. In BF4 you could only apply 4x scopes and nothing higher than that. In Hardline you can apply any of the higher magnification optics and try your accuracy at further distances, and I was doing that and they're actually fairly effective. Now let's talk a little bit about philosophy of use with these rifles. You can't go toe-to-toe with assault rifles in close to medium range combat. You're gonna lose those fights every single time. These are best used when your target is not firing back at you. So you want to be sneakier. You essentially want to take that sort of sniper position, maybe an elevated position, where you have the opportunity to start shooting at your target first and hopefully finish the kill before they even return fire. Because once you start taking fire with a DMR, it becomes increasingly difficult to finish off the kill on your target. Now the fast rate of fire certainly helps more in close quarters than it does at range. At range, you might want to time your rate of fire a little bit better and increase it quicker and quicker as your target is closer and closer to you. Because as you fire faster with this weapon, it becomes less and less accurate, and just the spammy nature of it is going to make your follow-up shots less accurate. And so it's going to be difficult to use. In fact, you're not going to want to shoot it at its maximum rate of fire at those extreme ranges. One of the best features of the DMR is the fact that it can do massive damage at range with one single magazine. The gun is never going to require more than 3 shots to take down your opponent at further ranges, provided that you're not shooting somebody with body armor or only going for leg shots. And this is going to allow you to drop 3 or even 4 targets with one magazine if you're accurate enough. The more distance you can put between yourself and your opponent, the more advantage you're going to have with this rifle. Of course, when you're going up against somebody with a bolt action at extreme ranges, you will be at a disadvantage. The bolt action is the ultimate long range weapon, as it has the one-shot headshot killing potential. However, I have definitely basically offset a lot of bolt action snipers by getting one body shot on them, and that kind of throws off their aim and their focus a little bit and allows me to follow up and get the kill before they can get an accurate shot back at me. Now, as far as picking your optics for this weapon, I initially tried to run it like I ran my DMRs in Battlefield 3. That is with a red dot sight. I've got the Cobra on here. I'm trying a lot of sort of spammy close quarter to medium range engagements, and this was mostly a frustrating way to run the rifle because it kind of felt cool at first, but then I realized I was just going up against a lot of assault rifle users, a lot of carbine users, a lot of PDW users, and I was just losing those fights because in that situation, those medium to closer range situations, the DMR just isn't as good. The DMRs in Battlefield 3 had one major benefit over the ones in Battlefield 4 and Battlefield Hardline, and that was their damage model. They did 50 damage maximum in BF3, which gave you the potential to one-shot headshot people in close quarters or get a quick 2-shot body shot, and this was key to having a gun that could be more adaptable to medium and close range engagements. It wasn't, in my opinion, better than assault rifles, but it could be used in those situations in a pinch. Unfortunately, when you're relegated to a guaranteed 3-shot body shot kill no matter what range you're at, like in BF4 and BF Hardline, this weapon now becomes pretty much completely ineffective in those closer to medium range engagements. So by philosophy, I started to equip some of the medium range optics, and then I even tested out a 6 and 8 times optic on these and found those to be fairly agreeable for the most part. I even put a canted red dot sight on there for the option to use it in close quarters, and decided that not only is the canted red dot sight hard to use, it looks bad, it has a weird transition, but the sidearms of the professional class are good enough that you should probably just switch to those when you need to deal with a close quarter target. They're going to be more effective in the long run. So not only do the higher magnification optics give you the option for more precise shots at longer ranges, you can take more accurate shots at headshots if you would like to, but it also kind of relegates you to a certain distance. I'm not going to want to use a 3x scope or a 4x scope or even a 6 or 8x scope in close quarters. It's going to be very difficult to use. So I'm going to try and maximize my distance when engaging my targets. And I kind of like doing that to my weapons when I'm trying to play a certain way. It's like, okay, I want to engage people at long range. Don't set up the gun for close quarters, or don't give myself an optic that I can use at close quarters. Give myself an optic that's going to force me into those medium long range engagements, and all of a sudden my playstyle is going to switch up to those medium long range engagements, and that's really where the DMR shines, and it ended up doing so much better when I was using the higher magnification optics. Now, as far as attachments go with this weapon, there's pretty much one choice for an underbarrel attachment. That is the angled foregrip. Sure, you can put a vertical grip or a stubby grip on there, but the angled foregrip is going to be giving you a huge benefit, and that is reduced first shot recoil by about 1/3. Now, just about every shot you take out of these rifles is going to count as a first shot. If you fire the weapon as fast as it possibly can be fired, your secondary shots and your follow-up shots are not going to count as first shots. However, it's very hard to fire this gun as fast as you possibly can, and even if you are in that situation, chances are somebody's so close quarters that the reduced recoil is not going to matter as much anyway. So stick the angled foregrip on there. It's really not much of a debate there. Then I like to run with the compensator, not the muzzle brake. The compensator helps with that vertical recoil even further. These guns have high vertical recoil. You need to fire them quickly, so you want to reduce that vertical recoil as much as possible so you can keep your sight on target. It's not going to jostle your screen too much. Using those two attachments in combination gives you the best possible vertical recoil reduction. And in this clip here, I'm using the 6x optic, and you can see that I can control that recoil fairly well, and it's giving me the ability to aim directly at headshots at further ranges. So I really like using the DMRs with these higher powered optics. I think 6x might be the way to go. I was liking 8x as well. You really just got to feel it out for yourself, or maybe switch it up depending on the map that you're playing on. I might go for a 3.4x optic if I know the map's going to be a little bit more chaotic and I can't set up my engagements as much as I would like to, but if I know I'm going to have a lot of long range opportunities, then definitely go for the 6 or 8x scope. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the front runners with the DMRs at the moment. The SOCOM 16 has some of the least amount of vertical recoil out of any of the DMRs. Is pretty much tied with the SR25 as well, but the SR25 has a weird right pull to it that I don't like. So the SOCOM 16 I think has some of the best recoil management out of the rifles, and it has a decent reload option. Now if you're playing for the criminals, unfortunately you have higher recoiling DMRs. I personally like the PTR 91, even though it has the highest recoil out of any of the DMRs because it has a fast muzzle velocity. Unfortunately, the Saiga 308 has very slow muzzle velocity, and that really bothers me at range. Plus it has a weird damage model. And unfortunately though, neither of the criminals DMRs are going to really stack up to the cops DMRs in terms of their overall performance. They're still very effective weapons and you can do well with them, but they are getting updated in the next patch to be a little bit more in line with the cops DMR. So you don't have to get 1200 kills with the SOCOM 16 and use it for the criminals. You'll eventually get a comparable PTR or Saiga. So I've been sinking most of my DMR time into the PTR 91 and SOCOM 16. They're not versatile weapons though, so just keep that in mind. If you've got a map that facilitates a lot of good long range combat, then you might want to think about running one of these DMRs, but if it's close quarter, more chaotic, then definitely don't use one of these. It's just going to be frustrating. So that wraps it up for my brief introduction to the DMRs in Hardline. I will be covering these weapons in more detail once the next patch comes out. As always guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.